Hi, my name's Kim. I'm a licensed and nationally certified Chinese medical provider, and welcome back out to the channel. Today, we're gonna go back to Chinese nutritional therapy, and I'm gonna make dim sum, and we're gonna do it completely from scratch. And you might be wondering, why are we doing this completely from scratch? So from the wrappers to wrap the dumplings to the ingredients, we're gonna do the whole thing from scratch.
So hey, come with me to the grocery store. There's just a few things that I have to get, and let me tell you why we're doing this whole thing from scratch. Well, mainly because it's gonna be more cost effective for me to do this from scratch. And then the other thing is, I'm getting to the point where I want to know exactly what's in whatever I'm eating, because it just seems to be such a mystery selection today. And especially with the experience with hamburger, it's really changed how I'm shopping and how much trust I have in food today. So, and when I'm saying that I'm looking for value, well, I'd love to do Napa cabbage, but regular cabbage works just fine, and it's half the price. So I'm gonna go with just regular cabbage. And I'm gonna grab some scallions. I really only needed one bundle, but I'm gonna use the scallions for something else, so might as well get two. And then I grabbed some cilantro, and it's not the best looking cilantro, and it's pretty small. So let's just start with all the ingredients that you're gonna need to make the dumplings and to make the dumpling wrappers. Most of the ingredients I already had, and I had actually found pork shoulder for a little over $2 a pound. So I had bought a huge pork shoulder. I had cut it up into about 2-pound segments and froze them. And so now I'm going to pull that pork and I'm going to use it for this recipe. Why pork dumplings? Well, I went with pork dumplings because they're really good at rebuilding qi, and they're really good at rebuilding your yin. And so I have a friend coming out to visit. This year's been a rough year for them. They've gone through 2 surgeries, and they're experiencing all the things that qi deficiency and yin deficiency shows after surgery. So really fatigued. And then there's yin deficiency signs, right? Like maybe your memory doesn't feel like it's as good as it was, or maybe you're having a hard time sleeping, or lower back pain, or you're getting up at night to use a bathroom a lot, or stomach's upset all the time and you can barely eat anything. So those are all signs that can be yin deficiency, and they can be really common after surgery too. So how do you eat to help repair all of this? And that's where pork dumplings can come in. This recipe is set up to be really supportive of your digestion while building up your qi and building up your yin. So let's talk about the individual components. Pork, it's really good for building qi. Now I use sesame oil. You could use any oil. You could use corn oil, olive oil, avocado oil. I use sesame oil because it's really good at rebuilding yin. That's like its key function. So sesame oil it is. I added in ginger because ginger is great at detoxing the body, and think of all those chemicals that you had to use to get you through that surgery and after your surgery. And so ginger is really good at detoxing that. It's also really good at getting phlegm out of the body. And if you watch the episode on phlegm, what does phlegm look like? Well, it can look like nausea and brain fog. So those are really common signs of phlegm. Ginger helps with that. Scallions, great at helping eliminate phlegm. Cabbage, really good at repairing the digestion. One of the really awesome foods for repairing your digestion. And it's really easy. It really helps move out phlegm also. So let's see here. What about the wrappers? On the wrappers, I used flour, eggs, and milk. So what is the deal with those 3 things? Well, flour, I used heritage wheat flour. So that, if you remember, heritage wheat is the flour that we were growing at the beginning of the 1900s, the really tall wheat, not the hybrids that we're growing today. And I used organic eggs, and then I used A2 milk, A2 organic milk. So 3 really fundamental things that are great for rebuilding yin. So wheat, milk, eggs, they're all really good at rebuilding yin. And I made sure that they were in their most digestible form. So I made sure they were organic. I made sure they were heritage wheat. Now I did one more thing, and it's not in here, but if you want the recipe for the dipping sauce that I used for these pork dumplings, I made a vinegar dipping sauce. And why I did that is it really just was like the crowning achievement for this meal to ensure that it would help you digest this easily and that it wouldn't impact your digestion, and it would continue to support your kidneys and your liver and your detoxing. And so I did this vinegar traditional recipe for dipping sauce. And if you want that, you know what? Tell you what. Give the video a like, put recipe in the comments, and I'll put a link to the vinegar dipping sauce that I use that just really brought the whole thing together and really ensured that they were not going to have any problems with the digestion when they were eating this. Let's make those dumplings. I bought pork shoulder, so I have to grind it, and I am going to double grind it because that's going to give it better consistency. It's going to improve the quality of it, and it's going to make it easier for my friend to digest. You don't have to get a pork shoulder and grind it yourself. You can get ground pork from the grocery store. And then if you have a butcher, you can ask them to double grind it, or you can buy pork there and ask them to double grind it. When you look at the cabbage and the scallions, I didn't put in specific measurements because you really want the same amount of vegetables as you have meat. So you want the meat pile and the vegetable pile to be about the same size. And I'm going to take that cabbage, I'm going to chop it up, and then I'm going to put it through the food processor to get it a real fine cut. And then after I get that nice fine cut, again, that's going to help make that dumpling nice and moussey and easy to digest. I'm going to take that cabbage and I'm going to squeeze out all the water. And that is the cabbage that I'm going to put into the pork dumpling. Now, if you're just doing cabbage, you're going to want to cut up enough cabbage so it's about the same size pile as the meat. And then I'm going to do the same things with the scallions. I'm going to put those through the food processor so they're nice and chopped up and easy to eat. So cool. Now all we have to do is mix everything up. And so I'm going to use a press to press in the garlic and the ginger. I can't believe how many shows I watch and they don't peel their ginger. They put it through the press and it's just going to squirt all over the place. And I can't believe I keep falling for it. So remember to peel your ginger and then chop it up and then put it through the press. I'm going to add everything else in, and then we're just going to mix it up. And then I have the good luck of being able to prepare this a day in advance. So now I can put it in the refrigerator overnight. So to just let all the flavors just kind of marinate with each other. Okay, we're down to the wrappers, and make the wrappers on the day that you're going to actually cook these. This is actually the first time that I've done homemade wrappers. So there is a learning curve here. And so watch the end of the video for some of the learnings that I got with this, and that might help you do these awesome. So take all your ingredients, and I start by cracking the eggs, and I'm going to mix them all up. And then after I get all the eggs mixed up, I am going to add in the milk, I'm going to add in the salt, and then I'm going to start cutting in the flour. And I'm going to get it so it's sticky and that I can handle it. And then I'm going to move it to the rolling board and make sure to use a lot of flour to roll it out. Try to get it as thin as you can because you're doing homemade noodles. So no matter how thin you get them, they're still going to end up thick. So make them really thin and then get ready to cut them. And you're going to want to cut them into circles. Now it's time to wrap up our dumplings, and it's about 2 teaspoons inside a dumpling. It's not a lot. And take your wrapper, wet the edge of the wrapper, fold up the pork in the dumpling, press it shut, and then put it down. That's it. And if you have people around that you're eating with, they can help you wrap these. After you get these wrapped, it's time to cook these. And there's multiple ways you can cook them. You can steam them, you can boil them, or you can fry them. And when you're doing your own wrappers, I would either steam or boil them first and then fry them. For steaming and boiling, put oil in your water so they don't stick. And when you're boiling, add in some salt also. It takes about 20 minutes. And then you just take them out, cover them with your sauce, and serve them up. Okay, this recipe, it makes about 150 dumplings, and the wrappers with 4 cups of flour makes about 80 to 90 wrappers. So what did I learn making these wrappers? Well, first off, when I'm mixing in the flour, I only cut in half the flour now, and then I throw that out onto the board to start kneading it and rolling it out. And that's when I use the rest of the flour, because you need a lot of flour so these don't stick to anything. So I take the rest of my flour and I cut it in as I'm rolling it out. These are homemade wrappers, so unlike store-bought wrappers or even store-bought noodles that disintegrate if you leave them in water too long, that's not going to happen with these guys. These guys stay very resilient. And so cook them for about 20 minutes, steam them for about 20 minutes, or boil them for about 20 minutes to really cook all the way through that dough. They are really hardy, and they're going to stay together for, I don't know, they stayed together for days. I have a pasta roller. I definitely am thinking about trying that out next time. I was thinking that my biscuit cutter was going to be good enough to cut these, and it was just too small. So what I ended up doing was I ended up using the dry measuring cup and just flipping that over to cut out the dumplings. Make sure to keep the pork inside the dumpling. Don't get it on your edges, because sometimes the oil from that pork can break open your dumplings when you're boiling them or steaming them. Remember to put oil in your water when you're steaming or boiling so they don't stick together and they don't stick to the pan. And if you're boiling them, add in salt so they don't stick to each other. It's a lot of dumplings, but you can pre-roll these and freeze them, and they hold for a couple months. And lastly, always peel your ginger if you're going to use a press. Don't believe anybody who just throws their ginger in there and presses it, because your ginger just squirts out all over the place. Okay, so hopefully when you make your dumplings, everything's going to work out great, and you're going to love them, and you're going to have a great snack or a great dinner. Until next time, I will catch you on the other side.